The unexpected allies. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Federation glittered with bioluminescent light, casting prismatic reflections across the faces of 37 species representatives. High Counselor Zayla Voth, with her iridescent skin and 6 delicate limbs, raised her crystalline gavel and called for order. The chamber, normally a place of measured debate and diplomatic courtesies, buzzed with panicked whispers. The void cascade has consumed the Nix sector, Zayla announced, her melodic voice unable to soften the devastating news. 3 billion lives lost. 7 worlds reduced to atomic particles. The holographic display above the central podium showed the spreading darkness, a living wave of energy-draining matter that consumed everything in its path, growing stronger with each system it devoured. Scientists had named it the Void Cascade, a quantum anomaly that had appeared 6 galactic months ago at the edges of known space. At current expansion rates, continued Science Director Zoltek, his gelatinous form quivering with distress, the cascade will reach the core systems within 17 galactic cycles. Our simulations predict total galactic extinction within 26 cycles. Commander Maya Singh, the human representative, studied the data scrolling across her tablet. Humanity had only been granted observer status in the Federation 8 Earth years ago. The Federation had classified Earth as a Class 12 death world, a planet so inherently hostile that the evolution of sentient life there was considered a statistical anomaly. Humans were viewed as fascinating curiosities, primitive, aggressive, but occasionally insightful. Maya's dark eyes narrowed as she calculated trajectory patterns in her head. The Void Cascade's movement wasn't random. It followed energy gradients, and the Federation's evacuation plan was fatally flawed. Your evacuation route leads directly into the Cascade's projected path, she stated, her voice cutting through the chamber's ambient noise. All eyes turned to the human, some with surprise, others with disdain. Commander Singh, High Counselor Zayla acknowledged with practiced politeness, the evacuation routes were calculated by our finest minds using quantum predictive algorithms. Your algorithms are tracking current speed and direction, Maya replied, standing. They're not accounting for accelerating expansion or attraction to energy concentrations. Moving your refugee fleets along that corridor will create exactly the kind of energy signature the Cascade seems drawn to. Science Director Zoltek's translucent body flushed with dismissive purple hues. With respect, Commander, our understanding of quantum mechanics predates your species' discovery of electricity. The evacuation plan will lead to catastrophic casualties, Maya interrupted, projecting her own calculations onto the central display. The cascade isn't just consuming matter, it's learning. Each system it absorbs makes it more efficient at targeting the next. The council chamber erupted in voices, most dismissing the humans' concerns. Maya understood their reaction. The Federation species had evolved on gentle worlds with stable environments, developing through cooperation rather than competition. Their civilizations were built on consensus, patience, and diplomatic solutions. Violence, to them, was a primitive aberration. But the Void Cascade wasn't interested in negotiation. 3 days later, Maya's prediction proved horrifically accurate. The first evacuation fleet, 6,000 ships carrying refugees from the Lyra sector, encountered the Cascade much sooner than Federation models had predicted. The energy signatures of so many ships in close proximity had drawn the cosmic predator like sharks to blood. The Cascade surged forward at twice its previous speed, engulfing the fleet in minutes. 23 million souls lost in an instant. The emergency session of the Grand Council was somber and subdued. Maya sat silently as blame and accusations flew across the chamber. Finally, High Counselor Zayla called for order. Commander Singh, she said, her voice heavy with the weight of failure, your calculations were correct. We owe you an apology. Maya nodded but offered no reproach. The Cascade is approaching the Orion Arm. My homeworld has days, perhaps weeks at most. We will adjust the evacuation routes, Zoltek said. Perhaps if we distribute the fleets in smaller groups. Evacuation is no longer viable, Maya interrupted, rising to her feet again. The Cascade's acceleration rate has increased by 47%. There's nowhere to run. Then what do you suggest? Asked Ambassador Krelox, his razor-thin frame vibrating with anxiety. If we cannot flee, and we cannot communicate with this phenomenon, we face extinction. Maya took a deep breath. For 8 years, humanity had played by Federation rules, keeping their true nature carefully restrained to avoid frightening their more peaceful galactic neighbors. That time was over. Let Earth handle this, she said simply. The chamber fell silent, uncomprehending. Your species? Zoltek asked incredulously. Commander, while we value Earth's perspective, this is a galactic-level threat requiring advanced technology and... We've been watching the Cascade since it first appeared. Maya cut in. Earth's quantum labs detected it before the Federation announced its existence. We've been developing countermeasures. Impossible, whispered a Tellurian representative. Your world possesses pre-singularity technology. You haven't even developed stable warp corridors. Maya smiled thinly. The Federation classified Earth as a death world for good reason. Humanity evolved under constant threat. Predators, disease, natural disasters, and our own violent tendencies. We survived because we're really good at killing things that try to kill us. She activated her communication device, and the holographic display shifted to show Earth's orbital space, where there had been only a handful of defensive satellites during the last Federation survey. Now hung a massive fleet of ships unlike any the Council had seen before. The Void Cascade feeds on energy, Maya explained. Standard Federation ships are powered by zero-point reactors, exactly the kind of high-energy systems the Cascade targets. Earth vessels use alternative technologies. What alternative could possibly? Zoltek began. I don't have time to explain thermodynamic variance engines to you. Maya cut him off. What matters is that we've developed weapons specifically designed to disrupt the Cascade's quantum structure. The Council members exchanged glances. High Counselor Xela studied the human carefully, seeing past the diplomatic facade for the first time. Your weapons, she said carefully. They were not developed in response to the Cascade, were they? Maya met her gaze steadily. Earth has been preparing defenses against existential threats since before we joined the Federation. We hoped never to need them. A heavy silence fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. The peaceful species of the Federation had always viewed humanity's aggressive instincts as an evolutionary flaw, a primitive trait to be tolerated and eventually outgrown. Now they faced the possibility that these primitive instincts might be their only hope for survival. What do you propose, Commander Singh? Xela finally asked. Earth's defense fleet is mobilizing as we speak, Maya replied. We've developed a weaponized quantum field that can potentially destabilize the Cascade structure. But to deploy it effectively, we need the Federation's mapping data and permission to move our fleet through your territories. For the first time in the Federation's long history, the Grand Council unanimously approved a military action without debate. As Maya left the chamber to coordinate with Earth Command, she heard Ambassador Krelox whisper to another delegate, "To think we pitied them for evolving on such a brutal world." Maya allowed herself a grim smile. The galaxy was about to learn why Deathworlders never went extinct. Humanity Unleashed. Admiral James Chen stood on the bridge of the EDS Thermopylae, Earth's flagship, watching as his fleet of 200 ships moved into formation. Each vessel represented the pinnacle of humanity's wartime innovation, technology the Federation had never seen because Earth had carefully concealed it during their diplomatic overtures. All ships reporting ready, Admiral, announced his second-in-command, Commander Devan Rashid. Quantum disruptors charged at 98% capacity. Chen nodded, his weathered face impassive. At 63, he had spent 4 decades in Earth's defense forces, preparing for threats that most of humanity never knew existed. The Void Cascade was exactly the kind of cosmic horror he trained for. Status of Federation observation vessels, he asked. Holding position at the designated coordinates, sir, Rashid replied. They're maintaining the recommended safe distance. Chen's lips twitched. The recommended safe distance was 3 light minutes away. Close enough to observe, but far enough that the Federation representatives wouldn't see exactly how Earth's technology worked. Some secrets were still worth keeping. Commence Operation Firebreak, Chen ordered. All ships deploy Phase 1 countermeasures. Across the fleet, specialized pods launched from each vessel, forming a complex geometric pattern in space. These devices, quantum resonance amplifiers, began generating a web of interlocking fields designed to isolate and contain sections of the cascade. In the Federation observation ship, High Counselor Zayla and Science Director Zoltek watched with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Their technology is far more advanced than they disclose, Zoltek noted, his gelatinous form rippling with concern. Would you have shared such capabilities if you were surrounded by species that feared your aggressive nature? Tehila asked quietly. Before Zoltek could respond, alarms blared throughout their vessel. The Void Cascade had detected the energy signatures of the human fleet and was accelerating toward them at unprecedented speed. By the Ancient Ones, gasped a technician. It's moving at 17 times its previous rate. On the Thermopylae, Admiral Chen watched the approaching cosmic horror with calculated calm. The cascade appeared as a rolling wave of absolute darkness that consumed light itself, growing larger with every system it devoured. All ships, hold formation, he ordered. Activate quantum distortion shields. A shimmering barrier of energy enveloped each Earth vessel just as the leading edge of the cascade reached them. Federation observers watched in horror, certain they were about to witness the annihilation of humanity's fleet. Instead, something unexpected happened. Where the cascade touched the human ship's shields, it recoiled, as if encountering something toxic. It's working, Rashid breathed. The inverted quantum field is disrupting its cohesion. Chen nodded. Deploy Phase 2. All ships, activate QRAPs at full capacity. The quantum resonance amplification pod suddenly intensified, creating visible distortions in spacetime. The cascade's advance halted momentarily, its darkness swirling in confused patterns as it encountered a force it couldn't immediately consume. We've got its attention, Chen said grimly. Now for the tricky part. All ships commence synchronous pulse sequence. Target the convergence points. The human fleet began firing concentrated beams of energy at precise coordinates within the cascade. To Federation observers, it appeared suicidal, feeding energy directly to the cosmic predator. But the humans had identified nodes within the cascade's structure, points where its quantum matrix was most vulnerable. Each synchronized pulse caused visible ruptures in the darkness. The cascade seemed to shudder, parts of its mass dissolving into ordinary spacetime before reforming. It's adapting, warned Rashid, as sensors showed the cascade altering its quantum signature. Estimated 15 minutes before our current approach becomes ineffective. Chen had anticipated this. All ships commence maneuver Hydra. With practiced precision, the Earth fleet split into 5 distinct battle groups, each adopting a different attack pattern. As the cascade adapted to counter one group's approach, another would strike from a different angle with adjusted frequencies. They're fighting it like a living organism, Zoltek marveled from the observation vessel. Testing for weaknesses, exploiting vulnerabilities. They evolved hunting predators larger than themselves, Hexela replied softly. This is what Deathworlders do. The battle raged for hours. 7 Earth ships were lost when the cascade briefly punctured their defenses, but the human fleet adapted quickly, adjusting their tactics to prevent further casualties. The cascade, for the first time since its appearance, showed signs of destabilization. We've identified the primary nucleus, Rashid announced, pointing to a swirling vortex at the cascade's core. All sensors confirm it's the primary organizing structure. Chen studied the data. All remaining ships converge on these coordinates. Prepare to deploy the NOVA device. Even on his own bridge, Few knew what NOVA actually stood for. Null Operation Vacuum Accelerator, a weapon designed to create a controlled quantum singularity that would collapse upon itself, taking the target with it. It had been developed as a last resort planetary defense, a fact the Federation would likely not appreciate. "Sir," Rashid said quietly, "the deployment zone is still unstable. Whoever delivers the NOVA won't be coming back," Chen finished. "I'm aware, Commander. Prepare my shuttle." "Admiral," Rashid began to protest. "That's an order, Commander. You'll take command of the fleet once I've launched." 20 minutes later, Chen's shuttle detached from the thermopylae, carrying him and the NOVA device toward the heart of the cascade. The human fleet provided cover, intensifying their attacks to create a momentary pathway through the darkness. On the Federation observation vessel, the aliens watched in confusion, then dawning horror as they realized what was happening. "That small craft," Xela said. "It's heading directly into the cascade's nucleus." "A suicide mission," Zoltek asked, his form pale with shock. "A sacrifice," Xela corrected softly. Inside his shuttle, Admiral Chen calmly navigated through the chaotic quantum storms of the cascade's interior. The vessel shuddered violently as reality itself warped around him. The navigation systems failed, then life support began to fluctuate. Chen ignored the warnings, his eyes fixed on the central display showing the pulsing heart of the cosmic horror. Approaching optimal deployment coordinates, he murmured to himself, knowing the fleet could no longer receive his transmissions this deep in the cascade. Initiating NOVA sequence. His fingers danced across the controls, activating the device. A soft, almost gentle hum filled the shuttle as the quantum mechanics within the NOVA aligned themselves against the fabric of spacetime. "For Earth," Chen said. "For all of us." He pressed the final activation key. The Federation observation ship's sensors momentarily overloaded as a blinding flash erupted from within the cascade. When the readings stabilized, the aliens stared in disbelief at their displays. Where the mighty void cascade had roiled moments before, now there was only empty space, sprinkled with ordinary stellar matter. The threat that had promised galactic extinction had been neutralized. In the aftermath, the Federation Grand Council convened an emergency session. Commander Maya Singh stood before them, her face showing the grief of victory purchased with sacrifice. "Admiral Chen gave his life to deploy the decisive weapon," she reported, "along with the crews of 7 Earth vessels. 2,814 humans will never return home." The chamber was silent, the concept of such willing sacrifice foreign to many of the assembled species. "Your people," High Counselor Xela finally said, her voice thick with emotion, "have shown us something we had forgotten. That sometimes survival requires terrible courage." Maya nodded once, accepting the acknowledgement. "The Grand Council has reached an unanimous decision," Xela continued. "Earth will no longer hold observer status in the Federation. You are granted full membership, with all associated rights and privileges." Murmurs of approval echoed through the chamber. But Xela wasn't finished. "Additionally, we propose the establishment of a new Federation defense initiative, with Earth taking the leading role. It seems we have much to learn from Deathworlders." Maya looked around the chamber, at the representatives of species that had once viewed humans with thinly veiled condescension. Now they regarded her with something new, respect tinged with awe, and perhaps a healthy dose of fear. "We accept both honors," she said simply, "and hope that the lessons of cooperation prove more valuable than those of combat." As the session concluded, Ambassador Krelox approached Maya privately. "I must confess, Commander, many of us believed your species would eventually outgrow your aggressive tendencies. We saw them as evolutionary flaws." Maya smiled faintly. "On Earth, we have a saying, 'Hard times create strong people.' We never wished for the challenges our world presented, but they forged us into who we are." "And who are you?" the ambassador asked. Maya looked out at the stars visible through the chamber's vast windows. We're the species that evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day, that fought our way to sentience through blood and struggle and sacrifice. We're the people who look at something that terrifies us and figure out how to fight it anyway. She turned back to him. We're humanity. And it turns out the galaxy needs a few Deathworlders after all. As news of Earth's victory spread throughout the Federation, the stories grew into legends. The peaceful species of the galaxy looked at their human allies with new understanding. They had dismissed humans as primitive because of their aggressive instincts and martial history, never considering that such traits might one day save them all. The Deathworlders had become the galaxy's protectors, standing ready against whatever horrors the universe might next unleash. And the Federation finally understood. In a cosmos filled with unknowable threats, sometimes you need allies who evolved fighting monsters.